From Mega-Maid's transformation to Dark Helmet's unforgettable humor, these are the Spaceball secrets they don't want you to know. Spaceballs delivered one of the most unforgettable visual gags in sci-fi comedy history, the moment when Spaceball 1 transforms into Mega-Maid. It's ridiculous, it's over the top, and absolutely brilliant. But what makes it even cooler is that George Lucas's own Industrial Light and Magic handled the visuals. Yeah, the same people who made Star Wars look epic helped Mel Brooks make fun of it. Lucas personally gave his blessing and even allowed his team to support the film's effects, making sure this parody looked amazing. Oh, and speaking of George Lucas's involvement, he also laid down one surprising rule that changed the entire marketing of the movie. When George Lucas reviewed the Spaceball script, he made only one request: no merchandise. That's right, no Spaceballs toys, no action figures, no lunchboxes. It was a gentleman's agreement between Lucas and Mel Brooks, meant to protect Star Wars' massive merchandising empire. Ironically, the movie itself mocked that very idea in one of its funniest running gags, with yogurt breaking the fourth wall to advertise Spaceballs, the flamethrower. It was parody inside a parody, making fun of the very rule that stopped them from selling real merchandise.
Merchandising, where the real money from the movie is made.
But not everybody was laughing, because behind the scenes, things were getting kind of tense. Before filming began, Mel Brooks and his team were terrified that Lucasfilm might sue them. After all, Spaceballs was packed with Star Wars references, from lightsabers to imitation stormtroopers and Dark Helmet himself. But instead of hiding, Brooks took the bold route. He sent the entire script straight to George Lucas. To everybody's surprise, Lucas didn't just approve it, he actually sent Brooks a personal note praising how funny it was. That green light gave the Spaceballs team the confidence it needed to go all in, pushing their parodies further than ever, knowing that the king of Star Wars himself was in on the joke. And while Star Wars was the main target, Brooks and his crew went after every major sci-fi franchise they could get their hands on. Spaceballs didn't limit its jokes to a galaxy far, far away. It went full throttle, spoofing Star Trek, Alien, The Wizard of Oz, and even Planet of the Apes. The film's sets, costumes, and dialogue were packed with clever nods to these classics. One of the best examples? The chestburster scene from Alien, where the original actor John Hurt returned just to parody his own death, as the creature burst out again.
Oh no, not again.
A perfect mix of horror, nostalgia, and pure absurdity. And that kind of magic didn't just come from the script. Some of Spaceballs' funniest moments were born right there on set. A lot of Spaceballs' funniest moments weren't even in the script. Rick Moranis, who played Dark Helmet, improvised several lines that became legendary among fans.
I can't breathe in this thing!
The cast was given freedom to play around, and it paid off big time. Scenes like ludicrous speed and Comb the Desert were pure comedic gold.
Sir?
What?
Are we being too literal?
No, you fool. We're following orders. We were told to comb the desert, so we're combing it.
That kind of spontaneous energy is what gave the movie its timeless charm. But behind the camera, Mel Brooks was juggling more than directing. He ended up stepping into roles he never planned to play. Mel Brooks originally didn't want to act in Spaceballs, he just wanted to direct. But when production started to slip off track, he decided to step in. Brooks took on not one, but two roles: President Scroob,
Salute! Hail Scroob!
and Yogurt.
Heard of you? Who hasn't heard of yogurt?
Yogurt the wise.
Yogurt the all-powerful.
Yogurt the magnificent! Please, don't make a fuss. I'm just plain yogurt.
His over-the-top humor and natural comedic timing added extra punch to the film.
And may the Schwartz be with you. What a world.
Many of Yogurt's lines were completely improvised, proving that Brooks' instincts as a performer were as sharp as his wit behind the camera. Now, funny enough, even while parodying Star Wars, Spaceballs ended up predicting some things that would later show up in the real franchise. Spaceballs wasn't just mocking Star Wars, it somehow foreshadowed it. The idea of ludicrous speed would later inspire jokes in official Star Wars media, and even the running gag about oversized helmets found its way into fan-favorite memes years down the line. What started off as a spoof became part of the very culture it was making fun of. It's one of those rare times when parody ends up influencing the original, blurring the line between comedy and canon. And if you thought that the main cast carried out all the fun, wait till you hear about the surprising cameos hidden throughout the movie. Spaceballs had a cast that perfectly balanced star power and comedy gold. Bill Pullman, John Candy, Rick Moranis, and Daphne Zuniga led the charge, but the cameos were the real gems. Dick Van Patten popped in as King Roland.
I'm breathing.
Dom DeLuise voiced the giant floating Pizza the Hut.
Pizza the Hut!
And Joan Rivers herself lent her unmistakable sass to Dot Matrix. What's wild is that some actors auditioned in secret, afraid that Lucasfilm might pressure them not to join. But they still took the risk, and the result was a lineup that made every scene pop with personality and chaos. And while it started out as a cult favorite, Spaceballs' story didn't end in the 80s. In fact, it's gearing up for one hell of a comeback. Like every great comedy, Spaceballs had a few moments that didn't make the final cut. Several deleted scenes, including an extended diner sequence and extra dark helmet bits, were left on the editing floor to lighten the pacing. Mel Brooks later admitted some of these scenes were too funny for their own good, because they threw off the movie's rhythm. A few of them resurfaced on DVD releases, giving fans a glimpse of just how much absurdity was trimmed out. Even behind the scenes, Spaceballs was a constant balancing act between chaos and brilliance. But even after all that cutting and polishing, it became its own kind of pop culture legend. Over the years, Spaceballs has turned into a goldmine for memes, gifs, and inside jokes. Ludicrous speed, may the Schwartz be with you, and I'm surrounded by assholes are now part of internet history. The film even inspired jokes in Family Guy, Robot Chicken, and countless online parodies. It's one of those rare comedies that just evolved with the internet. Fans still quote it, remix it, and share it, keeping its ridiculous energy alive decades later. And if you're wondering how Mel Brooks feels about all this, well, he's got a few thoughts of his own. Even after all these years, Mel Brooks still calls Spaceballs one of his proudest creations. In interviews, he said that making fun of something as iconic as Star Wars only worked because it came from a place of love. He never wanted to mock George Lucas, but wanted to celebrate how huge Star Wars had become by giving it a comedic twist. And now, after decades of rumors, the impossible is finally happening. Spaceballs 2 is officially in production, aiming for a 2027 release.
What do the fans want? But instead, we're making this movie. May the Schwartz be with you.
Directed by Josh Greenbaum, the sequel will bring back much of the original cast, ready to revive that ridiculous galaxy of Schwartz, sarcasm, and space stupidity all over again. If you enjoyed our breakdown, make sure to like, subscribe, and ring that bell because we've got plenty more deep dives coming your way.